the wood for? To build my shed.
Oh, yeah. Listen, did you find them shoes that you was going to pick up for me?
No, I'll see if I can pick up some for you today.
Yeah, I can't go out with these. I mean, look at this. I can't even go get myself a cup of tea.
We can play just along the road.
Well, but they may be, mate, but,
I used to go there quite a bit. Yeah? Years ago now, but I stopped. I used to spend quite a bit of time in there before I went away. Just before. I think that place had a lot to do with it. And they were all a good bit older than me, but they always used to listen. I thought they understood what I said. I mean, I used to talk to them. Talk too much, that was my mistake. It was the same in the factory, standing there, or on the breaks. I used to talk about things, and these men, they always used to listen. It was all right. Trouble was, I used to have kind of hallucinations. They weren't hallucinations. Used to get the feeling I could see things very clearly. Everything was so clear. And everything used to get very quiet. Things got very quiet. And this quiet and clear sight, it was, maybe I was wrong. Anyway, someone must have said something. I didn't know anything about it. Some kind of lie must have gone round, and this lie went round. I thought people were being funny there in the cafe, in that factory. I couldn't understand it. And one day, they took me to this hospital, just outside London. They got me there. I didn't want to go. I tried to break out several times, but it wasn't very easy. They asked me questions in there. They got me in asking all sorts of questions. Well, I told them when they wanted to know what my thoughts were. And one day, this man, doctor, I suppose, the head one, quite a man of distinction, although I wasn't so sure about that. He called me in. He said that he told me I had something. That they concluded their examination, that's what he said. And he showed me a pile of papers. And he said, you got this thing. That's your complaint. He said, we feel in your interest, there's only one course of action we can take, he said. I don't exactly remember how he said it. He said, we're going to do something to your brain. If we don't, you'll be in here for the rest of your life. But if we do, you stand a chance, he said. You can go out and live like the others. But what do you want to do to my brain? I said to him. And he just repeated what he said. Well, I wasn't a fool. I knew I was a minor. I knew he couldn't do anything to me without getting permission first. I knew he had to get permission from my mother. So I wrote to her and told her what they were trying to do. She signed that form, you see, giving them permission. I know this because he showed me her signature when I brought it up. I tried to get out that night. I spent 5 hours sawing at the bars on one of the windows in this ward, straight throughout the dark. They used to shine the torch over the beds every half hour, and I had it timed just perfectly. And the man next to me, he had a fit. I got a call. Anyway. About a week later, they started to come around and do this thing to the brain. We were all supposed to have it done there in this ward. And they did it one at a time, one at a night. But I was one of the last, and I could see quite clearly what they did to the others. They used to come around with these, I don't know what they were. They looked like big pincers with wires on, and the wires were attached to a little machine. It was electric. They used to hold the man down, and this chief doctor, he would fit the pincers, something like earphones on either side of the man's skull. Now, the man holding the machine, you see, he'd turn it on, and his chief would press the pincers into either side of the skull and keep them there. And he would take them off. He'd cover the man up, and he wouldn't touch him again until later on. Some of them used to put up a fight, most of them didn't. Lie there. Well, they were coming around to me, and the night they came round, well, I stood up and got against the wall, and they told me to get back on the bed, and I knew they had to get me on the bed, because if they did it while I was standing, it might break my spine. So I stood up, and one or two of them came at me. Well, I was young then. I was much stronger than I am now. I was quite strong back then. And I laid one of them out. And I had another round the throat. and suddenly this chief had these pincers on my skull. And I knew he wasn't supposed to do it while I was standing. That's why I... Anyway, he did. So I did get out of that place. I got out. Well, I couldn't walk very well. I don't think my spine was damaged. No, that was perfectly all right. But the trouble was, my thoughts had become very slow. I couldn't think anymore. I couldn't quite get my thoughts together. I couldn't get it together. Trouble was, I couldn't hear what people were saying. I couldn't look to the right or to the left. I had to look straight in front of me, because if I turned my head round, I couldn't keep upright. And I had to be steady. I used to sit in my room. That's when I lived with my mother and my brother. And I used to place everything in order in my room, all the things I knew were mine. But I didn't die. The thing is, I should have been dead. I should have died. Anyway, I feel much better now. I don't talk to people now. I don't go into places like the cafe. I steer clear of them now. I don't go into places like that. I don't talk to people now. I often think of going back and trying to find the man that did that to me. But I want to do something first. I want to build that shed out in the garden.